The Shepnaz Podcast begins now.
Welcome to the Shepnaz Podcast. I'm Joe, and I'm your host today. And we guess we should be wishing you a happy Thanksgiving weekend. It's actually traditionally referred to as Black Friday, although Black Friday doesn't have quite the same pizzazz that it used to have. I remember, a decade or so ago, like people were crawling all over each other at 5 o'clock in the morning at various stores, and maybe this is a positive change that's happened in the world that we're not doing that. But we have with us, Pastor Bryanna is going to be talking to us a little bit about something that's coming up this Sunday. We kind of teased it a little bit this past Wednesday when we were doing the Worship Wednesday episode. We talked about Watoto coming on this Sunday, and they're going to be with us in worship at both 9 o'clock and the 10:45 service here in Gahanna. And Bryanna has a special connection with Watoto, so we thought it would be appropriate to bring her in. So welcome in, Bryanna.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Before we get to all that, you are our youth pastor here at the Gahanna campus. So tell us some stuff that's coming up for the youth, just in case these youth do not tell their parents or they do not tell their caregivers that are bringing them on a regular basis. What is coming up for the youth?
Yeah. So in a few weeks, we have our Christmas party, which is always fun. That kind of just kicks off. We'll be taking a 2-week break for Christmas time. So it's just a good way to kick off the holidays. We're really excited for that party. We'll have like a white elephant gift exchange, cookie decorating. We always have Just Dance at all of our events. So there probably will be Just Dance. Just games and just a lot of fun. So,
and when's that going to be?
That's December 18th, Wednesday at 6:30 to 8. So
okay. And you mentioned you're going to be off for a couple weeks. So the week of?
Yeah. So Christmas Day, which is Wednesday, the 25th, and then we'll be off January 1st. So we will be back on January 8th.
All right. So do not come on Christmas or on New Year's.
Yeah, we will.
Probably didn't need that announcement. You're probably not going to do it. But just in case, we won't be here.
Yep.
All right. So let's talk about Watoto. First of all, where is Watoto from? And kind of tell us a little bit about that organization, if you would. Yeah,
sure. So Watoto is in Uganda. It's in Kampala, which is kind of like the central area. They are a church in a ministry that was founded by Canadian missionaries. Their names are Gary and Marilyn Skinner. I think they moved to Uganda like in the 80s, and there was like a civil war happening, and they were kind of at the height of that. So they felt called to plant a church, and they did, and it just kind of like exploded. And the best way I can compare it to is it's kind of like Hillsong, where there's like multiple locations. Every weekend, Watoto has about 30,000 people attend services all throughout their campuses. So it's pretty big. It's like a mega church in Uganda, but they have a ministry for widows and orphans. So they have 3 villages where they rescue orphans and kind of give widowers or just vulnerable women in Uganda a chance to have a job and like stability, a house. And these kids live in houses with these mothers. They go to school, they have healthcare. Really, they're just provided for in a lot of ways. And so Watoto, one of the big ways that they raise their funds and get sponsorship is they go on choirs. So they tour all around the world with these kids. And it really is a cool experience for them because they get to go to another country, but they're also like growing in their musical gifts. And it's not one of those things where like every kid has to go, but it's like an honor, and it's something they really look forward to. Josh has a little sister who's actually going to be going on tour. She's going to Canada in a few months, and she's super excited about it. So it's cool to like kind of see that in the process and how they just are really excited to get this opportunity. So, yeah.
So how did you originally get connected with Watoto?
Yeah, so I got connected when they came to our church in 2017. Some of you guys might have been here, remember that. I was home on my break from college. I was living in New York at the time, so I was home and I came to service, and I was just really moved by the performance. Like they they put on it is a performance, but more than that, like you see these like really young kids like truly worshiping, and you could really feel that. And they share these testimonies of just how, I mean, like some of them like were literally just like abandoned by their parents, just like in random places, and just how thankful they are that the Lord just like rescued them, and like Watoto provided that home for them. And, it's hard to hear those testimonies, but it was just really cool to see how God was working in their lives. And I was just like drawn to that in a way that it was really weird. Like I think they came in like June or July, and I, for like months after that, would think about the choir like a lot. And it was weird. I was like, why am I like still thinking about them so much? And so I ended up talking with one of my friends who had served in Africa. She was in Northern Africa and did mission work there. And I had felt called to missions like when I was really young, and I just didn't really know what that looked like. And I was talking with her about it, and she like encouraged me. She's like, well, why don't you like look into the ministry? Like maybe they have opportunities for you to like volunteer. And so I did. I went on their website and saw that they took volunteers, and I really wanted to be able to teach music because that's what I was studying. I was in music education. I wanted to be a music teacher. And I've kind of felt like the Lord was going to use me in that way when it came to missions. And so when I looked on the volunteer website and I put in an interest form, I found out that they didn't have any serving things for music teachers or any type of connection. So I was kind of sad about that, but I still felt drawn. And so I saw that you could serve in their babies' home, which is like an orphanage for the babies. And so I was like, well, maybe I can just do that. So I signed up, and a coordinator got back to me, and I think I put on the form that I was studying music education in school, and they saw that, and they were like, oh, like we actually just started this program it's called the Worship Academy, and it's essentially like a school in the village for kids to go to. It's like an after school program that for kids that feel led to worship and like to help them grow as worship leaders. And so they were like, you can come and teach music. And it was like brand new. Nobody had done it before. And so it just felt like such a God thing that's exactly what I was looking for and felt led to do. And the fact that they had that. So I signed up, and this was 2018. So the following summer after the choir came, and I went for 2 months, and I loved it. And yeah.
When you were sharing that story, it makes me think of some things that have happened in my life where there's so many times when I thought God was leading a particular direction, and it's just like all of a sudden it wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be. And you say, you know what? Well, I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to be faithful. And then sure enough, he'll turn it around and end up giving you even better than what you originally thought. It's just amazing how God does that on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in truth, though, that isn't your only connection with Watoto, because that's how you got started. But then it developed into a big life change for you eventually.
Yeah. So this is a whole other podcast in itself. But so that year I met Josh, who was living in Uganda. He taught a class, which is kind of funny. He took one of my voice classes, but he also taught.
Did he fail or did he pass?
He passed. But he'll tell people, he'll be like, yeah, she was my teacher. And I'm like, let's not. That's not what. Yeah. So he's older than me. Let's put it there. But yeah, so I met him, and we developed a friendship, and, some feelings were there, but obviously like, realistically, I was like, okay, well, this isn't going to work. Like we're in two different countries. And I ended up feeling like the Lord was calling me to come back the next summer. And so I did. And Josh and I had stayed in communication like that whole year. And he was just really like, just poured into me spiritually and just really encouraged me in my faith. And I remember like thinking, I'm like, wow, like God, just bring me a man like him. Like, I just want, I hope my husband's like him, and I kind of used him as like the model of like who I'd look for, which I wanted to be with him, but it was kind of like, no, it can't work. And so, I went back and we really got super close, and it was just so hard. And I knew like I kind of had to make a decision at the end of that summer because I wasn't planning on going back and didn't really know how it was going to work. And he was like, well, I feel peace about it, but it's up to you. And I was just all over the place. And I'm like, what do you mean you have peace? Like, what does this mean? And so I ended up leaving. I went back to college, and it was a few months later, after like lots of prayer and counsel, and I like felt like okay with it. And I was like, I don't know what this is going to look like, but we're going to do it. And so we got into a long distance relationship, and I was set to go back and visit. So this was like the end of 2019. I was supposed to go back in May, and then everything shut down because of COVID. So we were apart for like almost a year and a half. And then I finally went back and got to see him for 2 months. I had just graduated college and kind of had that in between time where I didn't have a job lined up, but I had, all this time. So and I could go on and on. There's a lot more to our story, but we ended up getting married a few years later, and he's here, and so.
And during his time there, he actually was in the choir.
Yes.
Like he would be doing what we're going to see on Sunday. Now, I'm trying to start a movement that I mentioned this on Wednesday's podcast, but I would love to see them call him up and have him be the front man for one song, and to have him do the dances. And I would find a lot of joy. I mean, in that.
I could maybe try to pull some strings. I don't know if he'd want to.
Well, don't tell him ahead of time. That will ruin it.
Right. You're giving me a good idea. I might have to. I don't think he'll listen to this. So. I think we could keep it a secret.
That'll be his mistake.
Yeah.
So I'm pulling for this. I really want to see this happen.
Okay, I'll try to.
Which is all the more reason why you want to come on Sunday morning, because you don't know what might happen.
Yep.
All right. So what else should we know about Watoto? Like, can you tell us a little bit about how they do? What to expect, I guess, on Sunday morning for people that have not seen Watoto before. Yeah,
it really is such a unique experience that I think everybody I've talked to that have seen the choir that is still here at Shepherd or in other aspects, it's like it really does impact you in a way that like you won't really be able to forget it. And it really is just a cool, like they have a lot of cultural aspects, but there's just singing and dancing, and these kids are like super talented, and you're just kind of amazed when you watch it. You're like, whoa. And more than that, like I said, you see them like truly worshiping, and it's inspiring to see such young kids. There's some older kids I think like the cutoff age is like 13 or 14. So you have some older kids, but I remember the last time I saw them, when they were here, like there's like kids that are like 5 years old and like really just moved by the Holy Spirit. So I think that's just so special to get to witness and be a part of. And you will be happy. Like that, for one word that comes to mind for seeing Watoto is just joy. Yeah.
Like there is a profound joy that they have in sharing through their talents to sing and to play instruments and to dance, and you don't want to miss it. So we encourage you guys this coming Sunday morning at 9 and 10:45. We hope that we have inspired you to invite some others as well as coming yourself. Make sure you share this episode for those that might be on the border of whether or not they want to come or not. This would be a great way to do it. We'll include a clip somewhere along the course of this episode so that you can see kind of what they do and how they do it. You can also check out everything that's going on with the church by going to shepnaz.org, and we encourage you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For Pastor Bryanna, I'm Joe. Have a great day.
God's not done with you yet. Your name is
This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.